I'm just gonna get straight to the point. For stats, I think this is an interesting aspect in this debate because physically speaking, strength and durability wise, Ichigo is just stronger. For durability, he can survive a nuclear bomb that could destroy Tokyo. As for strength, honestly, I didn't find any feats that are as strong as that nuclear feat. But I think it's safe to say that his durability scales to his strength. So there you go. As for Captain America, he has a lot of superhuman feats and stuff, but none of them are on the same level as a Tokyo destroying nuke or anything like that. But for speed, it's either their speeds are similar or Ichigo's is faster. Ichigo has been shown to be able to dodge light speed attack, so he's as fast as light minimum and faster than light maximum. For Captain America, there are two ways we can calculate his speed. Either we use his lightning dodging feat, which is a third the speed of light, or just said he's also as fast as light minimum and faster than light maximum because he has dodged laser before. The reason why I didn't just say his light speed is because I checked versus Battle Wiki for Cap and it didn't even have him at massively hypersonic, even though there are a handful of instances of Cap's lightning or light speed feats. But the point is, Ichigo just outstats Captain America besides speed. For Haxes or abilities, honestly, these two characters don't really have an insane quantity of important Haxes. Realistically, there are only a couple of them that will play an important role in this debate. One of them is Ichigo's ability to destroy internal organs. I didn't find if Captain America has resistance to prevent his organs from being exploded, so ignoring their stats, Ichigo has a way to defeat Captain America with potentially just one punch or kick. Does Captain America has a one-shot hex or abilities like this? Kind of. He can strike a pressure point attack to make his opponent unconscious. However, I don't think this will work on Ichigo because he's a full cyborg. Defensively, Cap has a pretty good regeneration. Obviously, he's not immortal or has a Wolverine level of regeneration, so I don't think he can regenerate from his organ getting destroyed, but hey, better than nothing. So it sounds like Ichigo just wins, right? He got the stats and Haxes to beat Captain America. However, Captain America has this one weapon that changes this debate immensely. Of course, I'm talking about his proto-adamantium shield. The one thing that I want to touch upon about this shield is, of course, its durability. This shield is able to block a strike from Hulk and Thor. There are quite a lot of moments where this shield is broken, but most, if not all of those moments, are not something that Ichigo can do, whether it's through stats or hacks. Now the question is, can we scale this shield's durability to Cap's strength? This argument is kinda iffy to me because at the end of the day, it's a shield, it's not a super complex magical sword that Captain America can use to defeat anything and anyone. It's like saying that I am as strong as a nuke because I have my anti-nuclear shield, which is not true because I still need to apply enough force to hit my opponent with nuclear-like attack potency, which is not realistic for Captain America to do with his shield. But whether you think that Captain America can apply enough force to surpass Ichigo's durability, there isn't any argument for Ichigo to straight up destroy the shield, which is a huge advantage for Captain America considering his physical stats and hacks are unmatched. So you may have noticed that I didn't include any feats or abilities from Ichigo's crossover movies or his appearances with other Kamen Riders besides V3. Simply put, the reason why I didn't include that is because it will buff Ichigo from nuclear to universal level. However, I do want to say though, whether Ichigo appears in the movie or has a crossover with any riders besides V3, technically, those appearances are canon. It's not one of those things where it's an alternate timeline or anything, so technically including those is, quote-unquote, standard enough for Ichigo. But just for the sake of fairness, I will intentionally not use those appearances for this video. Back to Captain America. There is this one thing I would need to address regarding him. It's about his outlier, which is something that a lot of Marvel characters, especially Captain America, have. And it's pretty consistent too. So I'm just going to say this right now. If we include all the outliers for him, Ichigo doesn't stand a chance. If you think that Captain America wins because of this outlier, that's fine by me. However, I personally will not take this outlier for Captain America because, well, it's an outlier, so of course I'm not going to include him. And one last thing before I state my argument for who I think wins in this matchup. Can Captain America just kill Ichigo before he transforms into his rider form? Okay, first of all, I think it would be fair enough for the fight to start after Takeshi transforms into his rider form. And second of all, his transformation happens pretty darn quick anyway. The reason why he took so long to transform is because he's doing his poses and stuff for the sake of coolness. But realistically, his transformation sequence is super fast, so it's not something that should affect the debate for this matchup. And now for the moment you've been waiting for, it is time to argue. First thing first, let's focus our thoughts again on the shield. It is very safe to imply that Ichigo cannot break the shield by any means necessary. So the shield is going to be the MVP for Captain America's argument to win this matchup. But that begs the question, couldn't Ichigo just steal the shield and just throw it away? Well, Caps has this unexplainable ability that apparently he can control his shield with a whistle. There's some argument about whether or not this is an actual ability he has, or maybe he's just showing off his precision and timing skill. But hey, the point is, there's a fair argument that his shield will somehow always come back to him no matter where you throw it, especially because Cap has an extremely proficient instinct and can even make up for macroscopic imperfection. But rather than discarding the shield, can Ichigo just use the shield against Cap? Ichigo is super smart and skilled at many weapons, but Captain America is the best person on the planet that can use the shield. No one uses the shield better against him, not even Ichigo himself. And that just makes sense, he's been using that shield for decades. Even Kang doesn't want to underestimate him, stating that Cap is an astounding warrior, mastering the form more completely than many who've trained for decades. However, the most important argument for him losing this matchup is indeed the massive physical stats difference in terms of strength and durability. But again, don't forget what I said earlier. The shield is going to be the most important aspect for Captain America's winning. So the physical stats difference is not going to automatically make Ichigo win easily. Ichigo may have the stats advantage, but Captain America's skill as a super soldier and the best user of the proto-adamantium shield on the planet make him the winner of this matchup. The winner is Steve Rogers, aka Captain America. Let's just get this out of the way. Just by stats alone, it's easier for us to argue that Ichigo will have an easier time winning in this matchup rather than Captain America. But I'm sure there are going to be some people who don't agree with Ichigo's nuclear level strength. In this video, I didn't find any strength feats that were on the same level with his nuclear durability, so I can understand if some of you didn't agree with me just scaling his strength with his durability. However, stats are not everything. Ichigo has this one ability that could destroy internal organs with just a punch or a kick. So there's an argument that realistically, Ichigo only needs one hit to defeat Captain America because of this ability alone. But of course, the main reason why this matchup is so debatable to begin with is because of Captain America's shield. And I personally agree that it's not realistic for Ichigo to destroy this shield. However, there are two ways that Ichigo can handle this problem. Method number one, just throw away his shield so he can use it anymore. Now I'm sure some of you will mention this moment where he could, quote unquote, control his shield with a whistle. This is that awkward moment where a character has this ability that could really need an explanation on how that ability works, but sadly, we never get one. And to be honest, Captain America has a lot of those moments, so we have no choice but to let our imagination explain this scene. I think it will be safe to assume that his whistling is just him being a show-off and should not be taken as an actual ability that he has. So let's just assume that this is just that one moment where he just throw his shield with perfect precision and super smart physics intelligence, which is way more believable than saying he can control his shield by whistling. So the point is, Ichigo can still be able to just throw the shield away from him. Method number two, just use the shield against him. It's very in character for Ichigo to use their enemies' weapons against them, but I'm sure some of you will argue, as shown here, that no one can use his shield against Captain America. I do agree that Steve Rogers is the best user of this shield on planet Earth. He just has way too many moments that show his perfect usage of the shield. However, that doesn't mean Steve is just straight up immune to his own shield. It's like me saying that I am the best user of this sword, but whenever someone else uses this sword against me, the sword wouldn't be able to hurt me at all, or it would just magically return to my hand from my enemy's grasp, which is not a realistic scenario to happen, considering that my opponent has a similar or better stats than me. So long story short, Ichigo would still be able to use his shield against Cap, and that would give Ichigo a massive advantage to win this matchup. And there's one last point I would like to address for Ichigo. Can Captain America just break his belt? Personally, I think the answer is no. That nuclear durability feat obviously also applies to his belt, especially with the fact that he's still able to transform after the explosion on their next appearance anyway. You can argue that Captain America is better in terms of skill and experience, but Ichigo has this stat advantage that can prove to be super fatal to Captain America. And if it ever comes to it, he could also use the proto-adamantium shield to his advantage and give Captain America a massive disadvantage. The winner is Hongo Takeshi, aka Kamen Rider Ichigo. But the question I must ask is, who do I think would win in this matchup? I'm 90% confident that Ichigo would win. It's just that Ichigo has an easier way to defeat Captain America with a few hits, whereas Captain America needs to work his way through Ichigo bit by bit. Even with the skill and experience argument, Ichigo is not a rookie fighter by any means, especially when we count his intelligence into the factor. So I just don't think counting experience and skill is enough for me to bet on Captain America. And then about the shield, yeah, it is very unfortunate that it can only help Captain America defensively and not offensively. I mean, sure, he can use his shield offensively, but I'm not really convinced that it can bypass Ichigo's nuclear durability, especially because it's in character for Ichigo to steal his opponent's weapon to his advantage. And Captain America usually throw his shield as an attack, and because they have similar speed, what stops Ichigo from just catching it and using it against Cap? But of course, if you have any other interpretation of who you think would win in this matchup, let me know in the comments below.